So out here, yes, in the dark, my wife's 2009 Subaru Tribeca with the H6 Subaru Boxer engine. Power steering went out on her. Definitely see why. Glad she made it home. She wasn't far away. Could tell the belt's loose here. The alternator definitely wasn't working either, so looks like that idler. Let me take this cover off. Looks like this idler in between the AC compressor and the alternator definitely got a weird angle to it. Oh yeah, that idler's shot. I'm gonna take that bolt out and we'll take a closer look at it. By the way, it looks like it's a 14 millimeter. Taking the bolt out. That looks like that might actually be the ball bearing shield of the bearing, the outer side shield of the bearing. I don't think it's part of the original washer. See if I can get that off now. Oop. Yeah, it's off. Yeah, that's not pretty. Yeah, the cage of the bearing it's all warped up. It might be a simple fix though. Hopefully that the little journal that's sticking out there on that mount, hopefully it's still a tight fit. I'll probably know better after I maybe put some calipers on it and hopefully just get a new bearing pretty cheap and see, hopefully it fits on there good and tight. Upon further investigation, trying to check everything that actually has a bearing, checking in play, compressor, and everything actually seems really rigid. Alternator's really smooth and really tight. Try to get the light in here better. As I was checking the actual idler for the it's actually the tension idler. It's the one that actually keeps the tension on the belt. It's actually got some play. If I tap on it, you can hear it better than me just rocking it back and forth. But it actually shouldn't have, I don't believe it should have that much play in it either. So I believe I need to change that bearing too while I'm at it. So what I ended up with, I took the actual idler, able to press the bearing out of it. I actually took the tensioner and all off earlier, and actually I was able to take the bearing out of it to press it out. It appears that they sell everything as a package, which I was told that's how it is. So Napa did have the actual pulley, the actual stationary idler pulley. So I just bought the idler pulley as an actual package, one complete unit. Comes with a 6203 bearing. I noticed a 6203 DUL1 was the NSK bearing that was the one that was actually in the tensioner idler. I couldn't read the dust cover off of the one from the stationary idler, but it appears to be still a 6203 because the 6203 is a 17 millimeter inner diameter or ID and a 40 millimeter OD or outside diameter. So they wanted right at $100 for the whole tensioner units, all they would sell for the tensioner idler. I really didn't have a problem with it. I just saw it had a little bit of play maybe in the bearing. So I am going to try to just put the 6203 bearing back in this one. I'm going to replace the idler that actually failed. sorry, I had that backwards. That's actually the tensioner and the bearing that came out of it. This is the idler, the stationary idler. So the outer diameter and all is the same, seems to be the same bearing, 17mm ID. But it does feel it's a machine steel pulley. So it does seem to be a lot heavier. So I'm just gonna weigh it. If it's a lot of difference, I really won't be that comfortable with it. So 12.2 ounces. And it is missing a couple balls, but 9.4 ounces. So it would have been a little more than 9.4 ounces. So it's not quite as bad as I thought. 9.4, 9.5 or so compared to 12.2. So I don't feel quite as bad about that, but it does have a lot heavier feel to it. So I do have this. I have ordered another 6203 bearing. You do want to make sure you get the right bearing that does have the dust cover on both sides of the 6203. And I have ordered that. And I've also went ahead and got a serpentine belt. Even though the belt's not damaged yet, but it does have, I think it's 85,000 miles on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and definitely swap the belt out while I got it all off anyway. And it's about approaching that time, usually about 100,000 miles. I do try to change the serpentine belt out. And I'll just usually take that old one off and keep it as a spare. In the event of emergency, something happened, you got one with you. It might be an old one that ain't in great shape, but you do have a belt. So when that comes in, we'll put it on. Back now with the fixed pulley, I have chosen to use some Loctite 609 actual retaining compound. I didn't actually like the way it fit on there. It didn't look like it was a lot of wear, but it actually it was kind of loose on there, so I just added a retaining compound. Hopefully be a good idea to help hold that inner race on there a lot better. I actually added a little bit of the low strength Loctite on the actual bolt. Low strength generally for smaller bolts than this, but I just wanted a little bit of added protection from backing off. Had to take my coat off to get in here. $14mm back on there. That radiator hose is right there in the way. That did tighten up and become really solid. I feel good about that one. No play in that one anymore. One thing worth noting also, this one threads, the fixed idler threads into the aluminum housing. If you ever do have to take, I know they sell this tensioner arm as an assembly, but if you have to take it off like I did, just realize that there's a nut actually in that housing. It is machined or cast forward, but it goes in there. So if you do drop that, you will have to search for it. It just so happens it sticks in there and stays flush. You can't really see it, but it will pop out on you. So back with the bearing for the tensioner. That's actually the part number that I chose. So to put it in, I do have a 1 3/16 socket, something to help me actually get that on there. Line up with the outer race. Seems to be fully seated. I also put some 609 retaining compound on the journal of that one. Got it on there now if I can get the bolt started, because this is the one that has the nut in the back. I think that did get it started. That ended up being harder than I thought. It wasn't started. I had to use this little magnet, flexible magnet, to hold it in place while I threaded it. It kept backing out. But it did work. That definitely feels a lot better. It's a lot tighter. I feel better about that. And it wasn't but $98 to replace the whole thing. And if you're having any issue with it, it'll be worth it. But I really wasn't having any issue. It just had a little play in the bearing. I thought I'd go ahead and change it out. So for $14.95 or so, I think that's well worth it. I also got the belt. The belt actually didn't have a lot of wear. It really doesn't look that bad. I know you're supposed to look for the way it's got the V's in between the grooves. If it gets to be a U shape, it's getting pretty bad wear, whether it's cracked or not. But it's still got a definite V shape to it. It's still got some wear, but definitely a good thing to go ahead and replace it and just keep it for a spare. It's a warm day, so putting it out in the sun helped a little bit. There's great resources available online that'll help you if you don't remember exactly how to do the belt. It's a good idea probably to print one out. That way you won't get confused and almost get it done. I have to redo it, because it is a little bit weird how it wraps around the tensioners. That's a good one from the Subaru Outback forum. It actually shows a really good picture. It's hard to follow it in the dark colors, but the black and white shows you the path. Really easy there. Just have it sitting there so I can see it. The hardest thing is just getting it up under the crank and wrapping around and make sure it don't pop back off that bottom crank pulley. After trying this thing a few times, you realize your best bet, it'd be easier to slide it on that the pulley that's actually got the no lip on it. It's just so happened that's one of the hardest ones to get to right there. It's getting there. Yeah, that was able to get it there. I pulled it towards me. I left nothing but the actual belt idler, the stationary idler, while I pulled the tensioner all the way towards me. Had to get the belt in the grooves just right, and it slid right on. We'll make sure everything starts up okay. put all the shrouds back on and do a test drive. Well, everything checks out with the new belt and new pulleys and a new bearing on the tensioner. Just wanted to mention that I always like to take the old one and put it back with some markings on it of what you've done, some notes. I'm keeping some of the part numbers of what I used, and I also just wrapped up the belt, the actual belt routing guide. I'm just going to keep all that wrapped up and keep it as spare parts. If you're hearing a sound or like a bearing whine coming from the front of your similar Subaru, you might want to check the stationary idler pulley, and also you might want to check that tensioner too. So hopefully if you hear your squeal, you'll check it and jump on a little sooner. I hope you found the video helpful. If you like to give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.